My worker looked down on me, not knowing I was his boss. I own a franchise that my family started when I was younger. I was the only one who wanted to take over the family business, so my father ended up giving it to me. My father gave me to restaurants before he passed away, and currently, I have 12 restaurants. I hired my family members, including my nephews and my kids, to manage my stores so they can learn to expand the family business when I'm gone. I never forced them to manage my restaurants, but I showed them my wealth when they were teenagers and showed them that if they wanted the lifestyle and comfortability I had, then I'm giving them the opportunity to get it. All of them understood that, if they wanted to each have a piece of my restaurants, they had to learn how to be an entrepreneur and run a business. My oldest son, 30, manages for stores. My daughter, 28, manages 3 stores. My youngest, 24, manages 2 stores, and my nephew, 26, manages 3 stores. I'm proud of what they've accomplished, and I feel very confident that my hard work will be taken care of when I'm no longer here. Every now and then, I like to visit one of my restaurants randomly to ensure that everything is up to their standards and everything is running correctly. I'm a simple guy and have no interest in buying expensive clothes to impress others. My family even says that if they didn't know me, I'd fit in with the homeless people. I opened the door and waited in the lobby with 3 other people who had families. All of them, but me, were taken care of and seated within the next 5 minutes. I waited, and one waitress looked at me and continued walking, grinning. Next thing you know, another waitress walked past me and ignored me. By now, 2 families came in, and both waitresses came and had them seated. At this point, I was shocked and was completely speechless about the things I was witnessing, especially since my restaurants are known for having excellent customer service. I got tired and decided to go up and ask the same waitress if I could be seated. Her smile faded away, and she gave me an annoyed look when I stopped her from walking after saying, "Excuse me." My worker looked down on me, not knowing that I was the boss. Part 2. I apologized and asked when I would be seated because I had been waiting patiently for more than 45 minutes. The waitress, still annoyed, looked at me and told me to wait patiently while someone takes me in. 5 minutes later, another family came in and asked to be seated, and the same waitress came and took them to an empty table. At this point, I knew that she was judging me based on my appearance, and I was getting frustrated. I decided I didn't want to waste my time and left the restaurant. 10 minutes later, I left fuming with anger and never felt so disrespected in my life. I decided to come back 30 minutes before closing, around the time my son usually comes back and manages the store to do paperwork. I walked in, and the first thing I saw was the same waitress waiting in the lobby. She saw me and gave me the biggest side-eye and attitude. She scoffed and goes, "You again? Did you not get the hint the first time?" Again, I was shocked and said, "Excuse me. Do you not know how to treat people with respect?" She looked more annoyed and said, "Listen, old man, we're about to close, and this restaurant doesn't serve, people who dress like you." I was completely speechless and angry to the point I even started getting mad at my son for even managing to hire this girl. I got tired of it, and when I was about to start yelling, my son walked by and said, "Dad, what are you doing here?" I looked at him angrily and said, "Who the hell is this, and how did you manage to hire someone so disrespectful?" My son, already looking worried, tried to calm me down and turned his head back to the waitress. My son, in a quiet, serious tone, looked at her and said, "My office, now." I had some time to calm myself down, and as I walked into my son's office, I looked at the waitress and said, "I want your other friend as well." I didn't forget about the other waitress who also ignored me. When I sat down, my son, sitting down quietly, then talked and said, "You do know that this person is my father, right? The one who owns all 12 of the restaurants here in the city." Both waitresses started apologizing, and I cut them off midway and told them to save it because they were both fired. The shocked expressions both of them had were priceless. They looked at my son to see if he would do anything, but to their surprise, my son agreed with me. But then again, it's not like he could have done anything, even if he didn't agree with my decision. I told them to leave, and both of them left the restaurant right after. I thought the story would end there until I found out that those 2 girls tried applying to my other restaurant my nephew managed out in the city. How did I find out? I was visiting that restaurant one day, trying to drop off supplies my nephew needed, until I saw them patiently waiting in the lobby for a job interview. As soon as I saw them, I walked up to them and pointed at the door. At first, they pretended not to know me until I gave them another look and said, "Seriously? We're going to play this game." They rolled their eyes and left the restaurant after they looked so defeated. Leaving, but I honestly did not care. I don't care how much they need this job. If they treat regular people like that, then they deserve every bit of karma they get. Once I found out that they tried applying for my other restaurant after they were fired, I made sure that all my other restaurants knew who they were, and if they ever applied, they would get rejected right away. After that whole situation died down, my life went back to being peaceful again. I realized that my patience is always running out, and my body cannot handle making trips back and forth to all of my restaurants. I decided to retire afterwards and ended up giving my kids and nephew each of the restaurants they managed. I am satisfied with what I have accomplished and thank God that I finally don't have to worry about that stressful business ever again, because that's my kids and nephew's problems now.